My name is Lisa, I'm 36, a school counselor, and for years I lived a life that looked perfect from the outside. But behind closed doors, I made a mistake, one that changed everything, and forced me to face myself. I've married for 11 years to a man named Noah. To everyone, we were the kind of couple others envied, quietly loving, stable, the kind you'd imagine still holding hands at 70. But what they didn't see was the silence between us. And that silence, it became a third person in our marriage. It wasn't always like that. When Noah and I met, we were both teachers, idealists, passionate about helping young people. We used to stay up talking for hours, trading books, debating everything from poetry to politics. We even wrote letters to each other the year he went to teach abroad, real ones. On paper, that was our rhythm, thoughtful, slow, sincere. Then life happened. A mortgage, Noah's transition into administration, my promotion to miscarriages, and a slow but steady transformation from partners into polite housemates. I remember the moment things began to shift, although I didn't realize it then. It was a Friday afternoon, late spring. A former student, Dylan, walked into my office. He had graduated 6 years earlier. I recognized him instantly. He was the quiet one, the kind who sat in the back but always turned in flawless essays. Now he looked confident. He'd grown into his frame, his voice was deeper, and he had this calm, self-assured way of speaking that caught me off guard. "Miss Hart," he smiled. "I heard you still work here. Thought I'd say hi." I should have smiled and said thank you, sent him on his way, but I didn't. I asked about his life, his writing, his work in digital media. One question led to another. Before I knew it, we were deep in conversation. It felt like coming up for air after being underwater. That day ended with a handshake. Nothing more. But that one conversation opened a door I never meant to walk through. A week later, I got a message from Dylan on social media. Innocent. Just a link to a short story he thought I'd enjoy. I replied. We started exchanging book recommendations, then voice notes, then texts that went on past midnight. He made me feel interesting again, and then, one rainy evening, as I sat alone in my car outside a bookstore, we kissed. It wasn't planned. I was mid-sentence, laughing, and suddenly his hand was on mine, and then he leaned in, and I didn't pull away. It was like stepping into a world with no gravity, no mortgage, no history, no silence. What followed wasn't some whirlwind affair, it was sporadic. Stolen moments, a few nights, whispered words in parked cars. Always with the unspoken rule. Never talk about what this meant. But life doesn't let you stay in hiding forever. Noah found out not through a voicemail or a dramatic confrontation. It was a receipt from a boutique hotel 2 towns over. I had forgotten it in the pocket of a jacket. That night, I came home to find him sitting at the dining table. The receipt flat between his hands like a confession I hadn't written. "What's this, Lisa?" he asked. No anger, just that terrible patient quiet he always used when he was truly hurt. I didn't lie. I couldn't. I messed up, I said. He nodded once slowly. "Are you in love with him?" That question hit harder than anything. Because I didn't know the answer. What I felt with Dylan wasn't love. It was escape. It was air when I thought I was suffocating. But it wasn't something I could build a life on. "No," I said. "I don't think I ever was." Noah stood, walked out of the room, and for 3 days we didn't speak. Then on the 4th he packed a bag and left. He didn't scream, he didn't curse, he just walked away. And that hurt more than if he had thrown every dish in the kitchen at the wall. The weeks after that were a blur. I moved into my sister's spare room. Dylan messaged me once. I didn't answer, because the truth had finally become unbearable. It wasn't Noah I had betrayed, it was the woman I used to be. The woman who believed in letters and honesty and patience. Somewhere along the way, I had abandoned her. I started therapy, not to win Noah back, not to punish myself, but to understand how a woman who had spent her life guiding teenagers through their emotional storms, had failed to navigate her own. My therapist Amanda didn't let me hide. She made me ask the hard questions, like why I stayed silent for so long, why I needed Dylan's attention to feel seen, and why I had stopped believing I deserved more than just being understood by someone else. One evening, 6 months later, I found myself standing outside Noah's apartment. I hadn't planned to visit, but there I was, holding a letter I had rewritten 100 times. He opened the door, surprised but not cold. "I don't want anything from you," I said quickly. "Just, can I give you this?" He took the envelope. I turned to leave. "Do you want to come in?" he asked. We didn't talk about the letter that night. Instead, we sat on opposite ends of his couch and watched a documentary we both used to love. It was awkward, tender, and strangely comforting. We started meeting once a week after that. No expectations, just conversations. Slowly, painfully, truthfully, we began rebuilding trust. Not as spouses, not at first, just as two people who once loved each other enough to try again. It's been a year now. We're not the same couple we used to be. We live in separate homes. We still go to counseling. But we've stopped pretending everything is fine, and that has made all the difference. Dylan, I haven't spoken to him since that last unanswered message. I'm grateful for what he represented, but not for what I did in that space. Sometimes, we don't hurt others because we're evil. Sometimes, we hurt them because we're hurting and too afraid to admit it. I'm not proud of what I did, but I'm proud of who I'm becoming. If you're reading this, maybe you're on the edge of a decision you'll regret, or maybe you already crossed it. If so, hear this from someone who's lived through it. You don't have to stay broken, but you do have to take responsibility. You have to stand still, look in the mirror, and ask, why? Not why you were caught, not why they weren't enough, but why you stopped being true to yourself. Healing isn't fast, it's brutal. It takes time, humility, and a terrifying level of honesty, but it's possible. Not all stories end in forgiveness. Mine hasn't, at least not fully, but it has found something else: clarity, peace, a chance to begin again, even if the road back is slow. If you liked my story, please like, comment, share, and subscribe my channel. Thanks.